I love couch co-op games, and I know a lot of you guys do too. And that's why today we're talking about 15 of the best couch co-op games available right now. So let's get right into it. Starting at number 15, we have Human Fall Flat. Now this is a weird one, but a good one. Everybody knows these games that have silly physics. Generally, ragdoll physics is the word people use for them, like Gang Beasts, which I was considering putting in on the list. But I ended up opting for Human Fall Flat just because it is so oriented towards cooperation, and it is incredibly inventive. The real appeal of the game isn't the stuff you're supposed to do, but the weird hijinks you and a friend will end up getting into as you try to solve a puzzle. The game looks weird, and your character controls in a weird way with this strange puppet man, honestly flailing all over the place because of the goofy physics. Just moving around is hard enough, and you can't even control your limbs at all. Things like that alone increase the comedic value compared to a more serious game like Portal 2. And since the game is specifically meant to be co-op, all the puzzles can't be solved with one player. They require the cooperation of both. That means when one of you does something extra stupid and messes everything up, it's a team screw-up. And that, my friends, is something that you end up either laughing about or starting a fight over. It depends on who you are, frankly, and who you're hanging out with. Now, if you're looking for platformer action, Sackboy: A Big Adventure totally delivers. It's one of the best examples of modern platformer gaming, and it totally embraces what I'm talking about here. Couch co-op, it has 4-player functionality, and it doesn't really feel like an afterthought. All of the levels have pretty good layouts in mind for cooperative gameplay. You can help each other access secret areas. There are also co-op only areas, which I think is pretty cool. Now, you're also competing for points, which gives the game a little of the chaotic energy that you might expect from, like, an early Mario game, but it also incorporates communication, teamwork, and generally just screwing over your friends for essential gameplay. I'd also say it's just a great-looking game with a highly versatile character. I think Sackboy is one of those mascots that really doesn't get his due. He was obviously created as a Little Big Planet mascot, and funnily enough, this game isn't a Little Big Planet game. It doesn't incorporate that create and play element. However, it's kind of fun for that, in fact. It focuses directly on just playing the game. It's a very smooth, fluid platformer. And again, it's just great production values and designed exceptionally well for co-op. Up next, we have Rayman Legends. A vibrant, delightful 2D platformer offers a wealth of couch co-op enjoyment. Its visual stylizations, remarkable attention to detail, and an inventive approach to every level really shine as a co-op game. It's, a pretty traditional platformer, but takes advantage of that to basically place co-op gameplay front and center. You can jump into a session, swap characters, and explore levels with a bunch of creative obstacles and puzzles that are, of course, mostly better or only solvable through cooperation. The game's commitment to teamwork is enhanced by its ornate level design and the incorporation of musical stages with rhythm-based challenges. Exceptional, by the way, rhythm-based challenges. This is probably a game that every platformer needs at least one stage like these. I mean, at minimum. And of course, Rayman has a number. What's most notable about Rayman Legends, though, is really its content. It has a ton. Even before you consider playing co-op, it's a long game, but it just essentially doubles the fun when you do that. The replay value is, in my opinion, pretty much endless. Like, there is so much here, and it's so dynamic, so variable, so fun, just such a good time. Coming in next, Cuphead might have predominantly found its enormous audience as a single-player game, but it can be a pretty exceptional co-op shooter. If you haven't been living under a rock for the last few years, you know it's this retro rubber hose animated style game that excels in cooperative gameplay because it's a punishing game. It's very difficult, there's no question about it, and I will go ahead and say adding an extra player doesn't lessen the difficulty. It actually sharpens it. However, there are ways that you can work together that really do help. Again, you have to be coordinated and at least reasonably good at the game, but you can basically just split objectives. You can go after one enemy while your co-op friend goes after another, or you can focus together. There's things like parrying each other back to life, stuff that you have to know how to do, but when you have it down, the game just kind of feels like a dead heat blast. There's a really really high level of necessity for coordination, communication, and synchronization between both players, and that's probably why it's an interesting co-op experience. It's not just that it adds another player. I mean, that's what it technically does, but the curve, the learning curve, essentially is an exponential type curve. It's like a stair step, and every time you get both players taking another stair step, communicating better, working together better, it is immediately noticeable. Next on the list, we have Unravel 2. I love this game. It is a beautiful game. It is a heartwarming game. It's a platformer that encourages local co-op through adorable tethered yarnies. Like, it's more basic than It Takes Two. It's not quite as good of a game, but it's kind of in the same vein, with a whole different stylistic shtick. It uses intertwined characters connected by yarn, elicits cooperation in a really interesting way, because you can't move in the game without each other helping each other. There's no, like, moments without cooperation, unless they are explicitly set up for a puzzle that is still explicitly designed around cooperation. As you progress, communication becomes more crucial, supported by stunning Nordic landscapes that are almost real, but not quite, you know, something between ethereal and real. Atmosphere absolutely through the roof. These yarnies going through these captivating settings, and just constantly forcing you to think in innovative ways and work together to progress. Like I said, it's not It Takes Two style game. It's not the same game, but if you like It Takes Two and want to get a similar experience with some slightly different innovations in different areas and slightly less innovations in others, this is absolutely going to be a blast. Coming in next, Moving Out is a cooperative game that I think you can probably figure out what it is, having nobody explain it to you, because it's a game, a co-op game particularly, based around moving your crap out. You know, you move from one house to another. That's what you're doing in Moving Out. It could almost be defined as an unorthodox one of those games, even though I'm relatively certain it's the only one of those games. It's, you know, in the vein of Overcooked, or, I mean, we talked about Human Fall Flat. Just that kind of chaos simulator type game where nothing is quite right, and therefore there's inherent comedy in attempting to do what is actually a pretty mundane and potentially annoying in real life, but you and some friends doing it. First off, that's always more fun in these kind of games. I don't know if you've noticed, but you always want to have more than two people if possible. I guess it depends on the type of coordination and skill level your partner has, but 2 is good. 3 or 4 is much better for this particular game. Essentially, it does for Moving Out what Human Fall Flat does for being a human. It just makes it weird. It's interesting because it relies on physical comedy. It's a game that revolves around just being stupid, if that makes sense, and I don't know how else to talk about it, so let's move on. Next up, when talking about couch co-op games, you know I can't leave a Mario game out. I mean, you could go all the way back to Mario Brothers, the original game that inspired the franchise's name, and call that a couch co-op game, because it is. And honestly, Mario has always had that co-op element. We could talk about all the new Super Mario games, but I want to focus on Super Mario 3D World because it's a slightly newer take. It borrows a lot from the various Mario gameplay styles over the years, going all the way back to the original, and blends them into a multiplayer 3D adventure. Now, it's not like Mario 64, Sunshine, or Odyssey. Those are more open world, but it still takes inspiration from them, and it's great. It has more of a time constraint and a distinct level-based structure. It's perfect for platformer fans, and adding another player doesn't ruin the experience like it can in some games, because, let's be honest, that happens sometimes. In fact, it actually enhances the creativity. For example, the catsuit power-up lets you reach places that would be difficult, if not impossible, to get to alone. It just feels like a game that was designed with both single-player and multiplayer in mind, which is rare. There's actually a Damonizing the Cave episode that talks about why it's so hard to make a game work well for both solo and co-op play, and Super Mario 3D World is a great example of one that does. Or at least, I think it will be. Next on the list, sticking with the Nintendo theme, let's talk about a game that doesn't take its obvious inspiration from other Mario formats. I'm talking about Luigi's Mansion 3. And no, not the other entries. I mean Luigi's Mansion 3, which is very clearly designed for couch co-op without just modifying an existing element. Yes, it introduces something new, a sort of goo clone of Luigi called Gooigi that allows for 2-player co-op. And because everything, combat, puzzles, exploration, relies on special abilities and coordination, the entire game is built built around that extra character. It's a fun game, and co-op isn't just an afterthought, it's fully integrated into the design. You can play Luigi's Mansion 3 solo, but honestly, I think Luigi is what elevates this simple yet fun game into something really creative. He's not just a clone of Luigi, he has unique abilities that matter when it comes to progressing and solving puzzles. Instead of being a different class, he plays similarly to Luigi but operates in a slightly different way, and I feel like games don't explore that concept enough. It makes for an interesting and refreshing co-op experience. Up next is Overcooked 2. Now, there was no way I was leaving Overcooked off this list. We're talking Overcooked 2, not the first one. I mean, let's be real, Overcooked 2 is just better. The first game nailed the arcade-style cooperative gameplay, but Overcooked 2 cranks it up with sink or swim environments and frantic multiplayer action. It's the perfect party game. Seriously, if you've got friends over and things start getting dull, just fire up Overcooked 2 and say, hey, let's give this a go. I promise, boredom won't be a problem anymore. You're racing across wild kitchens filled with moving platforms and inaccessible areas, frantically grabbing ingredients, chopping, cooking, assembling dishes, and desperately trying to coordinate with your team. Except, of course, you have to do all of this as fast as possible, which makes coordination a hilarious disaster. And by the way, you can now throw things at your teammates. Why wouldn't you? Be the considerate chef you've always wanted to be, chucking hamburger buns at someone holding a pot of cooked meat with nowhere to put it. It's chaotic, it's ridiculous, and it's fantastic. Next on the list, we're going to include Streets of Rage 4, a game we would be remiss to not put on here. You can play it with up to 4 people, and that's a good thing because who doesn't want a different character class in the form of a beat-em-up character? There's always a big guy, a medium guy, a fast girl, and one other character that in some way differentiates the gameplay style, but not necessarily in revolutionary format because, you know, those games have a formula that you really shouldn't break. That being said, they do kind of break the formula by allowing you to go up to 4 players, which is fantastic. I think that's wonderful. It's rare that you actually get to do that with one of these types of games, at least in the old days. Pretty much Streets of Rage 4 does everything right, that beat-em-ups 100% should do right, and they're all the better with a friend. But again, you can do it with 3 of them. Imagine seeing a beat-em-up that isn't a weird standalone arcade cabinet back in the old days, doing this, and being like, I want to play that. That's what I would have done as a kid, but thankfully, we have the far superior consoles, and we can stay home and do it now. Up next, we have Sonic Superstars, a game that is obviously trying to do something a little different with the old-school Sonic formula. It's a throwback to the original Sonic series, but also takes into account the innovations that the sort of riff-offs of the Sonic series also provided us with. Actually playing with a couple of other people, 3 people technically, but it retains that classic Sonic chaos. You're not going to know where you are all of the time, and you're going to lose all of your rings every now and then, but that's part of the fun. I'd say that actually adds to it because, really, you have to sort of keep an at least peripheral eye on 3 different characters that might entice you to not stop as one heads toward an obligatory pit of spikes, and then 2 of them aren't paying attention to the 3rd one. It is in keeping with the Sonic formula, and it adds a lot of chaos. The 4-player co-op makes this game so much more fun. Like, obviously, you're all doing your own roles, running fast, spinning, collecting rings, although maybe not as fast or in the same locations at bedtimes. Sonic Superstars perfectly captures the essence of Sonic, timeless with modern touch to co-op gameplay. Does that make it a better game? Well, let's not talk about the quality of Sonic games because, frankly, I'm a Sonic guy, and I won't have bad talking about Sonic games. Sonic Superstars is, I think, legitimately good though, and it's very fun to play multiplayer.
Weighted cubes calibrated.
Coming in next, we have Portal 2, a game that, in my opinion, took an already amazing experience, added new features, and somehow made both the single-player and multiplayer modes even better. It still blows my mind how well the co-op works because it would have been so easy to mess up. But thankfully, Valve was firing on all cylinders when they made Portal 2, in every possible way. It takes everything that worked in the first game, makes it more interesting, and expands on it without diluting the experience. And one of the biggest additions? Co-op. It's perfectly suited for this type of game because it forces two players to split the challenges, making teamwork and communication absolutely essential. What makes Portal 2 so great is how it blends physics-based puzzles with fast-paced momentum, constantly challenging your logical thinking in new ways. And then, as a co-op game, it throws you and a friend into wild science experiments that you have to solve together. It's one of my all-time favorite games, not just as a single-player experience, but also as a couch co-op masterpiece. Sure, you can play it online, but trust me, sitting next to your buddy on the couch makes it even better.
My name is Williams, and this is my prison. Any questions?
Next up, we have A Way Out, a cooperative game where teamwork isn't just important, it's absolutely essential. You and another player take on the roles of two prisoners, and when I say the game focuses on collaboration, I mean it. You have to work together every step of the way to escape. Obviously, prison is a hostile environment, and the game is designed so that one player has to do one task while the other does something else. In a lot of ways, it plays like a puzzle game with a strong narrative. What makes it really interesting is the way it handles split screen. You're both playing at the same time, but sometimes one player's action takes up the whole screen while the other's is reduced to a small portion, depending on whose story is moving forward at that moment. It's a cinematic storytelling approach that surprisingly works well. When done right, split screen can actually help with pacing, and A Way Out pulls it off. Granted, it's a story-driven game, so it's naturally a little slower than some other co-op titles, but it makes up for that with emotional depth. It has comedy, heart, and sure, a few clunky moments, but it's such a unique experience that it absolutely deserves a spot on this list.
Ah! Oh! 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 What is this? What is it? Oh! Help!
Coming in next, obviously, if I'm talking about A Way Out, I have to bring up It Takes Two. Hazelight, the developer behind both games, has really carved out a niche in co-op storytelling, and It Takes Two is easily the better of the two. It's a phenomenal game, one that only supports two players, and it thrives on collaboration, creativity, and innovation. Each player takes on a different role. One is more action-oriented, while the other provides support. But here's the genius part. Those roles constantly shift depending on the level. Both players have to adapt and learn new mechanics regularly, yet the game manages to do this without ever making the controls feel complicated or overwhelming. It's incredible how well this game pulls this off. The game constantly introduces new gameplay mechanics, way more than almost any other game I can think of, and every single one works flawlessly. The world is stunning, vibrant, and meticulously designed. Every new skill and task feels intuitive, reinforcing the game's heartfelt story about a divorced couple finding their way back to each other. Everything just comes together beautifully.
Where are we? I think this is my story. What the hell is going on?
And finally, we have Split Fiction. This thing's a wild ride from Hazelight Studios. Yes, those geniuses who gave us the previous two games that we just mentioned. Similar to their previous titles, you're teaming up with a buddy, no solo option here, controlling Mio or Zoe. Two writers stuck in their own crazy stories. One's all about sci-fi, the other's deep into fantasy, and the game just smashes those worlds together. I'm talking neon cities with hoverbikes 1 second, then bam, you're dodging trolls in some fairy tale forest. Every level's throwing new mechanics at you. Double jumps, grappling hooks, even turning into pigs that fart rainbows. Yeah, I said it, rainbow farting pigs. Me and my wife are currently burning through this on the PS5 split screen style, and we couldn't stop laughing. The puzzles need you both, like one's melting metal while the other's smashing crystals. It's pure chaos, perfectly synced. I love how it keeps switching genres, borrowing from stuff like Diablo or Tron, keeping you guessing. Story's a little generic, sure, with these annoying characters sometimes, yet the creativity's off the charts. Grab a friend, use that friend's pass it comes with, and dive in. This game's relentless, tossing fresh ideas every minute, and I'm totally here for it. Couch co-op's alive, folks.